Hello and welcome to Storyboard. I'm Shubhani Gharat. How has the past year fared for the country's leading automaker? How has Maruti Suzuki's marketing playbook evolved over the years? How is it responding to the preferences of a younger generation of consumers? Shashank Srivastava, Senior Executive Officer, Marketing and Sales, Maruti Suzuki India, answers all these questions and more in a conversation with Dilshad Irani. Srivastava also gives us an insight into how Maruti is calibrating its product portfolio to make it future fit and his views on sustainable mobility.
Hello and welcome to Storyboard 18, Shashank. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So let me move to my sort of future-facing question here. What is your outlook for 2023?
So the outlook for the financial year 22-23 is actually very good because the demand parameters have held very stable and in fact have risen. We have seen despite the semiconductor issues, we have seen a revival of demand, possibly a little bit of pent-up demand, but also new demand as well. And that means that this year we are seeing a very good sales overall. In fact, for the passenger vehicle segment, we are looking at a figure of 3.885 million, which it would be like a 25% growth over last year. And this would also be the highest ever sales in a financial year. In fact, Dilshad, if you see the calendar year so far, which is January to November, the industry has already crossed the 3.5 million mark.
How has Maruti's marketing playbook evolved over the years? I mean, given also the pandemic in the middle, but also just, fundamental shifts in the industry, consumption patterns changing, people changing, new generations of customers that might not necessarily have the same desires, needs, wants, aspirations as previous generations. So given all of these, and of course, the other sort of macroeconomic climate and changes, how has the marketing playbook evolved?
Yeah, so as can be expected, the marketing playbook has evolved in response to both the consumer pattern of consumer behavior pattern changing, but also the economic growth pattern that our country has seen. So industry has grown and consumer patterns have also changed. So it's not just about the volumes, but also consumer patterns. The first-time buyers initially in India were about 75-80%, but today they are about 45-47%, still very high, which means that India is a growing economy with a young population, 65% of the population below 35 years of age. So the first-time buyers, the choice is still largely functionality, but that is from generally to use cars for transportation. But there is this large chunk of consumers, 50% or more, who are either replacement buyers, which means they are upgraders, or they are additional car buyers, which means they are adding more cars to their possession. And their behavior is quite different. So you see the average price is going up. So also the requirement for design, for features are also getting a little more evolved. So I would say that in terms of the demography, as well as in terms of psychography, there is an evolution that we have seen rapidly coming in the Indian landscape. And in fact, last few years, it has changed dramatically. You see, I can go on and on the digital aspects, on the buying behavior, on the retail experience, and hence the showroom infrastructure, the purchase behavior, the amount of research that consumers already do when they walk in the showroom. There are a huge lot of changes that we have seen in past years, and it's accelerating all the time.
Can you then maybe give me a few examples of sort of future-facing strategies and initiatives that you all have undertaken perhaps in the past year or two that exemplify the modern approach to marketing that Maruti has taken?
So quickly, a couple of things. Maruti Suzuki as a brand was generally known, still known for value for money, for great fuel efficiency, low maintenance, wide network, therefore peace of mind. And that was something which went very well with the previous generation consumers. It became, after some time when things changed, sort of I wouldn't say a negative, but the priorities of consumers when they were making choices for buying cars especially the younger people, changed a little bit because they had a higher income levels. Financing was available much more easier. They were exposed more to global conditions. And as I said, generally economically, the growth for the country was there. And therefore, we did find that we need to create a brand where we would need, which can be more aspirational in nature. So we made the channel brand as Nexa, which is like much more aspirational. It is to give that global experience to the consumers as far as car buying is concerned. And of course, you need to do all those marketing activities, which you can charge a premium for that extra experience that you're giving to the consumer. That's one. Second, on the digital part, and this is now, of course, ongoing, we found that the younger consumers, and in fact, even some of the older consumers are now more keen to do the transactions, at least a large part of it, through digitalization. So what we did was we developed our platform, still an ongoing process, but we have developed it reasonably well, where we have of the 26 touch points that a customer has in his journey of buying a car, looking at the car, comparing, talking to people about the car, or seeing the reviews, or going and checking a test drive, and so on and so forth. 24 out of the 26 checkpoints we have digitized, including financing. So increasingly, we find a large number of our retails, almost 23% of the retail, and a large number of our inquiries, almost like 36% of the inquiries, now coming from the digital platform. And that is something which we believe is going to be the future of retail of automobile as well. Earlier, people said it's not possible because people want to kick the tires or smell the leather, and therefore they would because they will visit the showroom, and of course the salespeople will have a great influence on their purchase behavior. But we found from research, almost 90% of the consumer, 92% of the consumers now are reasonably sure which car they buy even before they come to the showroom, because they do the research online, and that's why digital platforms have become so important. So that is one direction which our brand will be very, very closely watching. And of course, increased personalization in terms of marketing communication. That's also something which is being enabled by the database that we have, both transactional as well as interactional.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we are catching up with Shamsuddin Jasani, CEO of Wunderman Thompson South Asia, on how their focus is on strengthening the agency's commerce and tech capabilities, along with getting in some key acquisitions in the coming months. Welcome back. It has been a year since Shamsuddin Jasani, the former CEO of Dentsu's Isobar, joined creative agency Wunderman Thompson as its chief executive officer of the South Asian market. At his new job, he has been focusing on further building Wunderman Thompson's creative legacy, along with strengthening its commerce and tech capabilities. He says key acquisitions are also on cards in the coming months. In a conversation with us, listen in. Shams, welcome to CNBC TV18.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So 1 year, how has it been like, and what is the kind of work that you're proud of?
The 1 year has been absolutely fantastic. I've totally enjoyed it. The people are amazing. I think that is the lifeblood of any organization. So I think that's where I feel that there is a great, I would say, product that we have within Wunderman Thompson and the group. I mean, we have a mixture of services that are there, from Wunderman Thompson, the agency, to Wunderman Thompson Commerce, which is a hidden gem of more than 600 people, that sit out of Gurgaon. We've got Mirum, which is a world-class, digital agency. It does amazing MarTech. It does amazing healthcare for healthcare professionals. So the idea was, this last 1 year was just kind of bringing all together. And the kind of work that I'm really proud of, which you will see now crystallizing, because the last 1 year was just about getting all of these things together, is work which is more integrated in nature. Work which really changes the focus of clients from our offering as a brand agency to more of an agency which works across the entire consumer value chain.
And in terms of business, the past 1 year has been kind of challenging. How has the agency fared, in the past 1 year?
From a overall business perspective, we're back to pre-pandemic levels. We've had more than 50 account wins, again, across the various categories of businesses that we operate in. And I think it's all down to the really perseverance of the team. I'm here just as a spokesperson for the team that is there, honestly. It's all the people who have worked hard. They've worked really, really hard in 2022 to deliver the kind of results that we have.
Actually, you came in from a setup, Isobar is something that you were instrumental in setting up. And from there, Wunderman Thompson, JWT as we know it, is like the most legacy agency of WPP in a traditional sort of a way. What was your perception while joining this agency, and how has that perception changed? And then how does a client look at Wunderman Thompson today?
Yeah, so I think my perception was from the outside was, yes, about an agency which has got this beautiful legacy, which just needs a little bit of spark to really ignite itself and come into relevance for today's world. All the ingredients were there, I mean, before my time. So we had Miram, we had Wunderman Thompson Commerce. Of course, the centerpiece is Wunderman Thompson. But it was just about getting all of these together and giving it direction in terms of saying, okay, what is it that the clients want today? The clients really want one agency to speak to.
And creatively, where is it headed? Teesta quit recently. So, what is
it's very simple. We've got a fantastic leader in Senthil. And from a Wunderman Thompson perspective, it clearly is a great thing to have someone like him working at it. At the same time, the way we are looking at it is, and the way I speak, and I'm a very simplistic person at heart. And when it comes to creativity, the way it used to work was that your platforms were set in traditional media. You know that I need to do it on television, outdoor, I want to do it on print. So your creativity was through great storytelling, great artwork. What is changing is that you need to use technology in a creative way in today's world. That's an additional layer of creativity. So I'm extremely gung-ho about adding that layer to an already existing beautiful understanding of storytelling, planning, strategy, and understanding of brands, and adding that layer of what I call creative technologists coming in and giving that little bit of oomph to say, okay, I have a great story to tell. How do I evolve that and make it more relevant to a particular platform or a particular technology, which can take it to the next level? So I think that's the direction. And I think clients are also accepting that and are looking forward to it. In fact, that's one of the big asks from clients is that let's start experimenting with technologies, not only today's technologies, but also tomorrow's technologies that are coming up. So I think that's
for that, you also need talent to enable something like this. What is the talent strategy for the agency today?
So it's a three-pronged approach. One is that we taking the understanding, the deep-rooted understanding of consumers is something that we've always been good at. How do I just evolve that understanding to add a layer of technology on top of it? So that is taking our teams, and there is an entire strategy on upgrading the skill sets of the organization is the number one strategy that we have. Number two, of course, we are going to look at key people to come in, when we're talking about creative technologists, when we're talking about the tech side of the business, also getting teams collaborating together. So like, for example, in Miram, we've got an entire digital setup with creative technologists out there. The third thing that I think is going to be important is also inorganic growth. So 2023 will also be about certain parts of our business which will come through acquisitions. Newer technologies, like for example, in experience design, as we call it, in consumer research, in technology, in commerce, in content marketing. So we are also looking at some parts of our business coming through inorganic growth or through acquisitions. But a majority is really about upgrading the skills and the technologies, and we've been able to attract good talent.
So you're going to be strong on acquisitions in the coming months.
Some more strategic, there will be some strategic acquisitions. A lot of it will be organic growth as well.
So finally, before we go, what is the larger vision for the agency for the coming months?
So for a couple of things, let me just put it as a 3-year horizon. We've already spoken about it earlier, is that we want to double our business in the next 3 years. So that's from a business perspective. So that's number one. In the coming months, it's just finishing our integration story, really integrated as Wunderman Thompson, one unit across commerce, technology, and of course, the everything that is linked is our legacy, which is creative. We will still be a creative agency and continue to be that. So that is core to us. Now, how do we creatively use newer parts of our business is going to be the challenge in front of us, which we want to answer. So that's the second part of it. And finally, it's about people. My focus in 2023 is to really have fun in all the work that we do. I think as advertising globally, we've slightly slowed down on the fun element, even in the work that we put out. I think we need to dial that back up a little bit.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
It is time for a short break. Welcome back. Tata Group acquired Kochi-based Kottaram Agro Foods, the owner of Soulfull, back in early 2021, and it has been subsequently rebranded as Tata Soulfull, a 100% subsidiary of TCPL. Now, over the past year and a half, Tata Soulfull is on a mission of reviving the consumption of the Indian millets on a day-to-day basis. They have also a strong millet-based product pipeline. So what is their approach and strategy to go beyond urban markets and create a niche for themselves in the highly competitive breakfast and healthy snacking space? We are catching up with Prashant Parmeshwaran, MD and CEO of Tata Soulfull, to find out more.
Prashant, welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tata Soulfull is fairly a new player into this whole breakfast cereals and this healthy snacking space. So how exactly are you creating a niche for yourself?
Our vision and our mission is, how do we make India's ancient grains, in other words, millets, how do we make them relevant to the 21st century consumer? This is our clear reason to being. This is what we are offering to consumers. And if you see the part is, it's not just about bringing back millets, but is making them relevant to the 21st century consumer. And that's really how we are, slicing and dicing various sets of the categories, various places and products that we really offer to the consumers. So we have a very, very clear way of how we are entering categories. We don't get into just a classic Me Too, but we use millets as not just from a health perspective, but also from delivering what we call our genuine taste forward approach.
So Prashant, over the past 2 years of the pandemic, we have seen that there is an increased health awareness. People are thinking healthy, eating healthy, snacking healthy. So that has triggered this whole consumption of, products such as yours to increase and the penetration to increase from single digits to double digits. But it is still a long way to go, considering, a market like ours, where every region has its own breakfast and snacking options. So what will drive growth in the coming days, apart from these 2 years of the pandemic, and what will drive growth beyond the urban markets to, let's say, smaller towns and smaller cities?
So Shivani, that's a great question, right? And I think it's very, very important that we understand India/Bharat, as we always call it, because there is a whole amount of market that is there outside of the top 8, top 16, 18 cities, however we want to slice and dice. And I think it's very, very important, because if our mission and vision is about making millets mainstream, ensuring that we are bringing it to as many tables, as many hands as possible, it is very, very important that we see the entire spectrum. What COVID did is, what I just say is like it's like the starting of that 100-meter sprint of a long marathon. So that's just the starting piece. And you very, very rightly put it, where the realization really started kicking in. Now what becomes important is for brands such as ours, is how do we then further continue that momentum? How do you further that entire piece? And not just from, just building out the distribution, but bringing it into the kind of affordability that becomes very, very important. Just last 2 days, I was in the markets of Orissa. And as we were traveling further and further, it becomes very important that we are, accessible price points are very, very important, because, it really comes down to disposable income. It comes down to all of that. even in an urban center, we see that, but it becomes more and more pronounced as we leave the city centers. And I think that's a very important piece, that you don't just end up, offering the large packs, higher price packs, but you bring what we call LUP and lower unit price packs that really are very, very important for consumers to really try. And it, again, one piece that people assume that, they will start with a small pack and then they will upgrade. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Right. And that's the beauty of a country like India, where basically people say, I have a lot of wants. I have only X amount of a disposable income. So I'd like to have them in small pieces. We've seen them with a classic shampoo, as we've always seen the entire sachet business. And I think it becomes very important to say, how does then that become and build a very, very strong business model as well? So I think finding that balance becomes very key. Growth, very, very interestingly, beyond the top 18 cities is at a very rampant space.
Also, the point that you made on, getting in the small packs, it's not just about trial, but somebody doesn't have that kind of a disposable income. And that has also led to many of these fairly established players such as Kellogg's and Baggeries to launch smaller SKUs and focus a lot on their distribution strategy in these smaller cities and towns. What are you doing in that direction? If you can share some insights.
I like to look at this as chapters of a book called Soulfull. And so the first chapter was, we were in the key cities, we were in modern trade, we expanded ourselves into cities, we took ourselves to around 10,000-15,000 stores. We were very clear that this is only going to get us till a place. We've got a proof of concept, and that's where the integration with Tata Consumer happened. And essentially what we then had was the entire sales and distribution network that sells tea and salt into the entire country. And just to give you some data points, we moved from 15,000 stores to around maybe 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh stores in a period of around 8 to 12 months. And today, and further on from there, today we are close to around 4 lakh stores. And for us to be moving, and we are still going to, we have very, very aggressive distribution plans. And obviously, when you start, crossing the 50,000, 60,000 stores, the 10 rupee price point becomes a very, very important. So the LUP becomes a very important price point. Some places it is about trials, but a lot of places it's going to be the consumption. And I don't believe that it's going to be that the 10 rupee will then become a 100 rupee purchase. It'll happen in some cases, but more likely than not, how does that become a key? So absolutely, that is a growth driver piece. That is a distribution game that we are also going to be playing, so that we're able to reach the masses. And what better than a place like TCPL, where salt, tea, all of them are going to all the nooks and corners of the world, of India.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Shivani. It was a pleasure talking to you as well.
Moving on, Zomato Live is the events business of food tech company Zomato. They also have Zomaland, which is a subscription-based event designed for feeding India with an aim to address the issue of malnutrition and other health issues related to nutrition deficiency. This event was recently held in Mumbai, and on the sidelines of it, I caught up with Chaitanya Mathur, Global Head Live at Zomato, along with Apurva Pandey, AVP Growth and Marketing at Zomato, speaking on Zomato's strategy behind entering into the experiential marketing segment with Zomato Live back in 2018, and how has it worked for the brand so far, and also the way forward for it.
So welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Chaitanya, let's begin this conversation with you. We are speaking to each other around the time of Zomaland. Tell us the reason for Zomato to get into this entire experiential marketing space back in 2018, and how has it fared so far?
I think the journey began, like you said correctly, in 2018. And the reason for this was that we've always been an online platform. And we realized that I think having some footing in the offline space and in the world out there, actually interacting with our customers, was essential to the organization. Also putting out what we do in the app, say search and discovery, or actually getting to know more about our services, was something we wanted to take to an offline measure. I come from the experience of building food festivals and events. And I think that just got married into what we were doing at Zomato. And hence we launched Zomaland. Zomaland is a carnival of food and entertainment. We have 7 cities this year, 3 already done, fully sold out, and 4 more to go.
Apurva, over to you. What is the kind of impact of all of this on the perception of brand Zomato?
What we cater towards is, or what we expect, is to build brand love and mental availability, right? So these are the 2 vectors or the 2 metrics that we, expect of a good outcome, out of whatever we are doing.
Okay. Apurva, other food delivery platforms are very aggressive when it comes to their marketing initiatives. What is Zomato doing in this direction? What are the kind of marketing initiatives and activities that we will see from the brand in the coming months?
So we have always appreciated what the competition and the category is doing. We have always learned from it, taken the good things, and and seen how it has played out. But we've also been kind of immune, in the past few years and the past few months of what is happening. But what at the end of it, what happens is if the competition and category is aggressive, it builds the food tech category, right? From Zomato's perspective, our strategy and initiatives are deeply rooted and anchored, around customer behaviors, right? Elevating customer experiences, providing the best value. So there's a lot of on-ground activations, a lot of marketing, activities and strategies made, keeping the customer at the center.
Yeah, that's great. And Chaitanya, finally, before we go, events are back to how we used to know it back in 2019. If you can share with us, what are the plans for Zomato Live in the coming months, and what will we see in terms of events, in terms of lives in the coming days?
I think we're seeing a far higher consumption of people at events. A lot more people want to get out. India alone is doing 3,000 plus events in this sort of quarter of October to December. It is incredible to see the live industry come up, not just for Zomato Live, but overall as an industry and within the country. Zomato Live, though, has launched Zomaland in 7 cities. We might be scaling this at the highest from a post-pandemic perspective for any IP in the country. As we move forward, we're also looking at various different new properties to do. Feeding India concert is one of them, with our charity partner as Feeding India. And we're looking at maybe getting into regional cuisine spaces, maybe some campus-related shows. Who knows what the market is going to demand for, and we will definitely come in on the supply side.
Well, all the best for that. Thank you so much. Thanks, both of you, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Shubhani.
With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time next week. See you soon.